I am the Pov.
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 It's really hard to say you have a great community if there are lots of people left out of the greatness.
I think at the time before the Poverello was created, we were rather indifferent to people who were homeless.
I knew there was such a thing as a homeless shelter. I'd never been in one or didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about homelessness at that time. But I was without money, and so I came to the Poverello.
A group of people called lay Franciscans came together in prayer to try and involve their lives in the way of St. Francis of Assisi, who was a man of the poor. They became very concerned and started to make a movement to create a space where people could be fed, and then eventually where people could be housed temporarily. And they just started without any fanfare, and eventually it became what it is today.
I was a truck driver, and I got a job in eastern Montana, Culbertson. I hitchhiked there. They hired me over the phone, and I've been in Montana practically ever since. Now I've gotten old, I can't work. And I squandered my money. Hadn't it been for this place, I'd be out there. And I'm too old to be out there. It's a blessing in my book. The ones I feel for are the families. You know, I've seen kids come through here. This place wasn't here, those kids wouldn't be eating.
I work at the Pov because I believe that everybody deserves a second chance, and I believe that we can help offer hope to those people who have none. I am the Pov.
The Poverello Center's emergency shelter and soup kitchen provides thousands of nights of shelter to men and women struggling with homelessness. We also serve growing numbers in our soup kitchen.
You gotta have some place to live and you gotta have something to eat. If you don't have those two things, it's really gonna be hard to put the rest of your life together. And that's where the Pov fills this incredible need in the community. The hot meal is happening at the Pov every afternoon and evening. The warm, tiny, hard bed in a crowded room is happening at the Pov every night. There's that consistent, reliable safety net that really operates on a relative shoestring, but has made it work lo these many years. Pretty remarkable.
I served in the Navy for 6 years, and over the past 6 years, I've served veterans, young and old, here at the Pov, and it's the best job I've ever had. I am the Pov.
I'm like a lot of people. I think I've worked hard. I've tried to live a good life, but that is not what determines how all this plays out. As much as I'd like to think that it's, you know, we're all self-determined. There but for the medical accident, there but for a learning disability, there but for an addiction. I just drew a whole bunch of lucky cards, and those cards can fall away at any time.
The men and women who find themselves homeless are really as varied as the community that we live in. It could be youth aging out of foster care. It is oftentimes elderly men and women who are struggling to make ends meet on Social Security retirement income. We are seeing more and more first-time homeless, people who have been working until they experienced a layoff or are struggling to find a job in the current job market. 26% of our shelter clientele are veterans of war. We're seeing more and more veterans, young veterans, return from the current conflict with significant issues and struggling to reintegrate back into the community.
I'm not a combat veteran. I served during the Cold War. But there's veterans out here who have seen action. And they need help. And this is the place here for them to come to get that help if they want it.
One of the things that the Pov is great at doing is helping everybody regardless of their circumstances, sort of meeting people where they are and hooking them up with the services that they need to lead a more healthy and self-reliant life.
Our homeless outreach teams focus on serving chronically homeless men and women living on the streets. While we know this is a smaller population of individuals experiencing homelessness, it's also a very important population to reach.
Our success depends on building positive relationships. But it's not about just handing out material goods. It's about having conversations to get a sense of what these folks' lives are like. And a lot of times, some of the barriers involved in folks being on the streets includes alcoholism, mental illness. Yeah, you know. People oftentimes leave institutions like a state hospital with not a lot of follow-up. I'll catch up with you again, James, okay? And so they're very challenging cases that oftentimes have fallen through the cracks. It's giving us a chance to come in and use our relationships that we've already built so that we can help figure out some better solutions down the road for the people that are on the streets.
I'm going to bring him some food today and check in on him, and I'll bring him some food.
I think one thing I've seen over the years is that the line separating people who are employed and have health insurance and have their health with people who do not and who are on the street is a very thin line, and it gets thinner all the time. The truth is, people who are homeless, who have chronic illness, die significantly earlier than the rest of us.
Partnership Health Center operates a healthcare for the homeless clinic here in the emergency shelter facility. It really allows people to address their chronic health needs.
Being able to really help people stabilize their health often involves what it would for any of us, a couple of weeks on bed rest or recovery from a surgery in a supportive, clean environment.
When clients first walk in the door, how are we going to respond to them? You know, if this is the first time that they are homeless, they're in a state of crisis and they may not be in a place where they're actually ready to go that in depth for an intake and identify what they want or need.
Ultimately, people have to be very motivated to move on to the next better possibility in their life, which typically is stable housing and employment. We require people to work hard with the case manager, to set goals and to meet those goals to reside with us.
So getting them connected with the community resources is going to be able to help them in the long run rather than just this kind of emergency situation.
People who are staying here participate in a chore. They assist in the soup kitchen and with cleaning and maintenance of the facility. That really, it's a communal effort every day to serve 350 meals, to open the shelter doors to 100 individuals. And so there's a lot of give and take between residents and between the community. And our goal is to run a facility that's not just beneficial to the clients who access services here, but that provides a benefit to the entire community.
I work in the kitchen, and when we put out lunch, I want it to look beautiful. I want it to be a Kodak moment. I'm trying to talk to the residents here doing their chore that that's what I want from them so that they can take personal pride in themselves. They have lost their self-esteem, so many people. And when you're in despair and depression, you can't even come up with an idea as to how to take yourself out of this.
Even as we in Missoula work on long-term solutions to homelessness, we will always need a homeless shelter that operates with compassion and courage and high standards. And I think the POV is among the best organizations working on behalf of people most in need.
Many of us who work at the Poverello Center here do it because it's a calling for us. We come to work every day and we feel privileged to be able to walk alongside people who are experiencing tremendous struggle and who also exhibit inspirational resiliency. I think it provides me amazing perspective on why it is that we all live together on this planet and the responsibility that we have for caring for one another.
A great community doesn't exclude some of its citizens by virtue of travail. We take care of one another, and when we do, I think we're at our best. And when we're at our best, we are the POV.